Hey YouTube, bit of a cop out. I've not actually quite yet finished this bass yet, but I've kind of been playing it. Yeah, so this is a 1982 Westone Concord bass. This will be a two-part video because I've not actually finished it yet. So, yes, there is a great website called westoneguitars.net where you can look up the specs of all the Japanese Westone models. And it tells you here this is a Concord 1. I think I might have said it was a Concord 2, didn't I? Yeah, so Concord 1, there are three versions. Hard puncher pickup, i.e. P-bass pickup, single volume and tone, 32.25 inch scale, so slightly shorter, sort of that Japanese in the middle scale, which is really good. 21 frets, plastic nut, solid alder, hard maple neck. The neck on the Concord 1 is a single piece. Oh, and therefore that's more prone to warping. Okay. The other one, yes, so these have got slightly different scratch plates. This is the earliest model, which is a scratch plate sort of this shape, although I did make this one clearly, and it's also not quite the right shape because I made it a bit bigger to take more knobs and switches. So I put extra pickups in this. The plan was I got this 5 years ago, something like that, from a guy who had refretted it, completely stripped all the paint off it, refretted it, and put left-handed tuners on it for some reason, and then made, I imagine the scratch plate must have been missing, he made one out of brown leatherette sort of material wrapped around cardboard, which looked atrocious. And then, relatively recently, my pal Buster gave me a big pile of the aluminium checker plate, so that's like, wow, good to use it. So I thought I might as well go a bit silly. So I've not painted the headstock well, it's getting redone later because I'm going to have to try and find a Westone logo for it. As I said, it had left-handed tuners on it, but over the last couple of years I've found Westone Spectrum tuners even logoed up and everything. So correct, going with the black hardware. This bridge was already on this, but it's not the original bridge, it's like one of your high mass ones. This pickup is original, everything else is modified to a certain degree. So extra pickups. My original plan was I was going to stick in another P-bass pickup in here, but I didn't actually have one. Then I started looking at other pickups I had lying about. It was a PV one I was thinking about that, and then I found these in the garage, which I bought again 5 or 6 years ago off a guy on a motorbike. An original 1980s Ibanez musician bass, which was a big heavy Les Paul looking thing, but it had, so it's a Super P and a Super J pickup, and in that guitar it had a volume, a tone and a blend to mix between the two. I don't have the blend pot, I didn't put it in because I mixed in 3 pickups, so I just went for 3 on off switches. So all up, all on, it's just like, you know, just got neck pickup, middle P-bass pickup, jazz pickup. Trying to keep it simple. So currently just now these are connected up. So we have no pickup because none of the switches are on. So we've got the neck pickup. This is just a passive volume and a passive tone. So kind of keeping it simple. That's the P-bass pickups. This is basically what it would have sounded like straight out before it get any modifications. Went to the Marshall MB bass amp, 150 watt. And then you get the jazz bass pickup. So this is the jazz and the B. And then it's the neck in the middle, so the neck and the P bass. And then I suppose all three on because I can. Yeah, so why did I not just wire it up fully? Well, a couple of reasons. One of them was I was aware that it would need set up. Some of the frets, when the guy sold me, he wasn't happy with the frets up high. He says there's something wrong with it, and it's like I never got to the frets because he had left-handed tuners on it, the most horrible scratch plate ever. So I never even played the bass ever. So I kind of wanted to make it work. I also had to cut a new nut for it, and being an absolute idiot that I am, I ordered the nut from, I don't know, one of the big companies, at CH Guitars or something, or eBay, you know, one of the ones that I think it's in Nottingham, things like that. Got the nuts, this is a left-handed one, so I went straight onto the internet to complain, and then realised that I'd actually ordered a left-handed one. It's like, so I, rather than admit my mistake, I just butchered that one from a left-handed one into a right-handed one, just by carving and hacking away at it. Yeah. Because it's one of those things that if I had that, if I just bought another one, I think it was only £4 or something like that, but if I just bought another one, I would just have had a left-handed bass nut sitting in my box forever, because pretty rare that I get any left-handed instruments. Not that I'm leftist, but they're just dead hard to sell, and I don't play left-handed. So yeah, that's the reason for that. And the electrics are pretty complicated coming up. Well, as I said, they're not too bad just now. We just get a volume and a tone, just as a P bass and an output jack, so we're there. And then these three switches are just for each pickup. So that's trying to keep it relatively simple. The tricky bit comes when this other switch is going to turn on a yellow light bulb, which I'm waiting for, which is one of my excuses for not having done this yet. Turns on a yellow light bulb, which activates the original Ibanez Musician active circuit, which is an active centre indented bass, middle and treble. So that'll be nice, having that working. I was actually really quite pleased the way those, I spent ages trying to find yellow knobs, and these didn't paint very well, but these painted great. These knobs here are just ones I bought in white by mistake before, and I just painted them yellow and they look fine. They're still not, there's no scratch plate screws holding this scratch plate on, it's just held on with friction round about the pickups. That's how accurate I was cutting it. So it'll tighten up a little bit once it's got the proper scratch plate screws on. I've also used strap buttons, strap locks on this bass, partly because they're already fitted to it, but also it means I could use one of these horrible rotosound straps that I always complain about, and it's not squeaking. So it's like, okay, it's an expensive solution, so you can use a cheap strap, but I mean, I had them sitting there anyway, and this already had the locks on it. Also, I think just going by the shape of that's a bit of a angle to be pulling off, I think, so it's probably better the way it is. So I'm going to have a wee bit of a jam, not using any of the active electronics because they're not set up. I'm not sure how much I'll be using it without the active circuit, if the active circuit's there, because from what I gather from playing it, it sounds fantastic. I had it set up, but I'd built it into a pedal enclosure to make sure it worked before I went to all the effort of packing stuff in. Oh, that might be my yellow light bulb, just arrived in the post. So that would give me an excuse to just finish off this bass tonight. Did it get it? Did I get something good? Or was it just rubbish? The East Bartonshire Gazette, which there's quite a lot of Liberal Democrat stuff on it, and I wonder if it's a fake newspaper. It clearly is. It can't be as bad. Oh. It can't be as bad as the conservative one that came through. Here, that's okay. But there you go. So they've actually decided not to mention the SNP in a referendum in every single sentence. There we go, the SNP mentioned there. Wow. So on this whole page, it just says SNP once. That's pretty impressive, eh? But I should really mention this. I mean, I'm not being political. I mean, whether you're political or not, this is ridiculous. If you're not from Scotland, then you'll probably find this quite funny. So here is the Conservative one. And I just for a wee laugh, I just circled everything that said SNP and referendum. Yeah. And then, so these are only the words referendum and SNP on the Conservative thing. So look at all their amazing policies, and I don't care which side of this you sit on. Look at the amazing policies. There are none at all. The only sentence that doesn't say SNP or referendum in it is one that says something about ruling out joining a coalition, which is to do with the SNP and independence, and Conservatives are the opposition party in Scotland. That's it. Every other thing on this is just basically saying anti-SNP, anti-referendum. So, what that, yeah. Even if I've maintained that as being sort of politically neutral, but really, what a bunch of idiots. If you think we're going to fall for that, it's just, I just hope we don't again. Yeah, so this is my stuff I got through the post. This is live unpacking. So it should be black scratch plate screws. Not particularly exciting, but there we go. So I've now got the scratch plate screws are ready to do that. I hope I bought enough, because I think what I'm going to do is this afternoon is I'm going to strip off the metal off that, which should be pretty easy, and then just paint it black, put it back on again. I just think it's already a pretty mad looking guitar. I think the scratch plate does kind of take away from it a little bit. So this is hopefully my LED, and if this is LED, that clears me up to there we go. So I've got a red LED, but it wasn't until after I'd already decided it was going in and I'd cut the hole for it, I started thinking yellow LED for this bass is the way to go. So hopefully that'll be, I don't think I'll put it out to tomorrow's video, but I'll spend this afternoon doing this. I'll put this out anyway, because this is me demonstrating it without the other one. This is the neck pickup. P-bass. That would be playing through both amps with the first pedal. So, jazz pickup. And then put it back on the first pedal and stuff anyway. yeah, so that was just a wee run through. I'll get around to this at the weekend, I think. Maybe even get it up and running this afternoon. I'm just a little bit feared of setting up the other part of it. I wanted to make sure it was working before I tried to put the electrics in, and it's just it's awful tight for space. It's quite a big circuit board. It's actually in there just now, but there's quite a lot of wires, and I've kind of got to wire them in such a way that they don't interfere with each other. I put a battery box in at the back as well, so I've got to connect up the battery, connect in the new light bulb, and then work out how it's going to work. So this will be, it's not my first active bass is the Aria laser one. That's a full scale, but again it's a similar era. That was at 85, this is 82, same factory, so it's a Matsumoku bass. I had a go at, because this had been completely stripped, I lacquered the neck, and it's actually turned out not bad. It looks the part. I've not put the headstock's not been. I need to redo the headstock and then re-lacquer it. The paint kind of went funny on it for some reason. But it's actually not bad. It's better than the bare wood that I had before. It's just a little bit sticky. I think I might get myself some really high fine grade sandpaper, get it down, and also just playing it a little bit. Also, one of the things I noticed yesterday when I was setting it up to make it play, it was buzzing a wee bit up here. Kind of something not right. It's kind of sounding a bit dead. I wasn't really that impressed with it. And then when I started taking down the high frets, I realised, I lacquered the whole thing, but I didn't tape off the frets, figuring that I would just go back over it again and scrape it off. So I went back over it again, scraped it off, and what a difference that made, having metal frets rather than lacquer coated frets. But it turned out really well. It really does remind me of my wee Aria TSB bass, which is one of the reasons why I put some bit extra pickups in this, because it's 1982 again. I think it's a similar, as in sort of a P bass but not quite shape. It's a 32.5 inch scale. It's made by Matsumoku, and I've replaced a bit of the scratch plate that was broken with this metal checker plate. So if I just straight up made this the way back to original spec, it'd be kind of pointless having it and the Aria. So this way I've also managed to use up the active circuit. The colour's not really shown up very well in the video. Some angles you can see it's a really lemony yellow, and actually when I do the proper demo of this I will look out the one that I copied, because I have a Westone Concord H2 guitar which I also painted yellow, which is not quite this shape. This is the old Concord shape. The slightly newer Concord shape is just more like a Thunder. This is a bit kind of wider here. The other one's the other Concord's a bit more thundery shapes, but it's yellow, maple neck, looks similar. I do quite fancy the Concord 2 bass though, being the one up from this, and I don't know how much the difference in price was originally, but it's got one piece neck as opposed to a separate fingerboard and brass knobs, and I think it came in nicer colours. I think maybe you could get it with a painted headstock. Whereas this one was just a plain headstock. But I've managed to make a bass live, and it's also been refretted as well. I think the guy who had it before me refretted it because he wasn't really happy with his job. It's a little bit sharp on the edges, but it's got full size frets, no wear on them at all, which is nice. So this is going to be it, but this bass is taking forever. That's why I wanted to do a video just now before I went any further. Sometimes things just take ages, and this is taking ages. This has been weeks I've been at this. Rock on, catch you later.